Judge sets date for Trump hush money sentencing but rules out prison term. President-elect will be sentenced for his 34 felony convictions on January 10th. Judge Juan Merchan rules. A judge on Friday set Donald Trump's sentencing in his hush money case for January 10th, little over a week before he is due to return to the White House, but promised not to jail him. Judge Juan Merchan, who presided over Trump's trial in New York, denied the president-elect's motion to dismiss the case due to his election victory in November. He said Trump is expected to appear for sentencing either in person or virtually, but Merchan signaled in an 18-page written decision that he does not intend to impose a prison sentence since prosecutors concede they no longer view it as a practicable recommendation in the light of Trump's election win in November that a sentence of unconditional discharge, meaning no custody, monetary fine, or probation, would be the most viable solution. Merchan wrote, even so, the sentencing would be a high-profile reminder that America is about to swear in a president with a criminal record for the first time. However, Trump could yet ask an appeals court to intervene and postpone the sentencing. People look at an exploded vehicle. Police search for motive in Las Vegas Cybertruck explosion at Trump Hotel. The surprise development marks yet another twist in the singular case. Trump was convicted in May of 34 counts of falsifying business records. The case involved an alleged scheme to hide a hush money payment to the adult film performer Stormy Daniels in the last weeks of Trump's first campaign in 2016. The payout was made to keep her from publicizing claims she had sex with the married Trump years earlier. Trump pleaded not guilty and claimed, without evidence, that he was a victim of political persecution. On Friday, Trump lashed out at Merchan on his Truth Social platform, writing that it would be the end of the presidency as we know it if the judge's ruling was allowed to stand. Trump repeated his claims that the case was an illegitimate political attack and nothing but a rigged charade perpetuated by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, a Democrat. He didn't elaborate on potential next legal moves. Trump spokesperson Stephen Chung said in a statement, "This lawless case should have never been brought, and the Constitution demands that it be immediately dismissed. President Trump must be allowed to continue the presidential transition process and to execute the vital duties of the presidency, unobstructed by the remains of this or any remnants of the witch hunts. There should be no sentencing, and President Trump will continue fighting against these hoaxes until they are all dead." Trump was initially scheduled to be sentenced on November 26th, but Merchan pushed that back indefinitely after the Republican nominee defeated Vice President Kamala Harris in the November 5th election. The postponement allowed the defense and prosecution to weigh in on the future of the case. Trump's lawyers urged Merchan to toss it out. They said it would otherwise pose unconstitutional disruptions to the incoming president's ability to run the country. Merchan rejected that argument, writing that setting aside the jury's verdict would undermine the rule of law in immeasurable ways. Merchan also concluded that the Supreme Court's ruling that presidents have immunity from prosecution for officials' acts does not shield the president-elect. Accordingly, a president-elect is not permitted to avail himself of the protections afforded to the individual occupying that office, the judge wrote. The judge said he found no legal impediment to sentencing Trump, and it was incumbent on him to sentence Trump prior to his swearing-in on January 20th. Only by bringing finality to this matter will the interests of justice be served, Merchan wrote. Prosecutors with Bragg's office had suggested several options for Merchan, including delaying the sentencing until Trump, 78, leaves the White House in 2029, or guaranteeing a sentence that would not involve prison time. Falsifying business records is punishable by up to 4 years in prison, but incarceration is not required. Before his election victory, legal experts said it was unlikely Trump would be locked up due to his lack of a criminal history and advanced age. Trump was charged in 3 other state and federal criminal cases in 2023, one involving classified documents he kept after leaving office and 2 others involving his efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss. He pleaded not guilty in all 3 cases. The Justice Department moved to dismiss the 2 federal cases after Trump's election victory. Trump's state criminal case in Georgia over charges stemming from his effort to overturn his 2020 election loss in that state is in limbo. A toddler, a student, a family of 9, who were the victims of Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216. The 181 people who boarded Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216 in Bangkok on Sunday were no different from the millions who fly on commercial aircraft every day. Children on their first trip abroad, colleagues celebrating promotion, holidaymakers returning from package tours, all looking forward to being reunited with family and friends in South Korea. Now, though, they will forever be associated with the worst domestic aviation disaster in the country's history, as authorities rushed to establish the cause of Sunday's crash, in which all but 2 passengers and crew on the Boeing 737-800 died. Heartbreaking stories and tributes emerged as grieving families and friends shared the pain of their loss. The 179 people who died were aged between 3 and 78, although most were in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. 5 were children under the age of 10. 2 Thai nationals were among the dead, and the rest were South Korean. They included a 3-year-old boy who was killed in the crash alongside his parents, who had shared an Instagram image of their son looking out of the plane window on their way to Thailand. The caption read, "My son is going abroad for the first time on a night flight, and his first passport has no stamp." Kong Ko, 43, his wife, Jean Lee Sien, 37, and their son were returning from their first family holiday abroad when they died. Ko, who worked in public relations for the Kia Tigers professional baseball team, was described by friends as likable and hardworking. He was great at his work, and the entire baseball broadcast team liked him. The sportscaster Jong Woo-young of SBS wrote on Instagram, the victims included 9 people spanning 3 generations of the same family, according to the Yonhap news agency. They included the eldest, a 79-year-old man, who was returning from a holiday with his wife, their 2 daughters and one of their sons-in-law, their granddaughter and 3 grandsons. 41 of the passengers on the flight were on the return leg of a package tour that left Muin on Christmas night. One of the 2 Thai nationals who died was Sirathan Cho, a 22-year-old student who had won a scholarship to study airline business management at Bangkok University, and had only 3 months to go before graduating. She was traveling to Jeju to visit her mother, and perhaps scope job opportunities. She always dreamed of working there as an air hostess, her uncle told Yonhap, describing her as the pride of the family. Weeks ago, Sirathan, known by the nickname May, had been happily posing for selfies with her girlfriends in Bangkok in an area famous for its street food. Her social media pages showed she liked K-pop and kittens, art classes, and dyeing her bangs bright blue. Her mother was waiting at the airport, and at first she thought the plane malfunction was minor, her uncle said. But then she saw the videos of what happened on social media. She was in shock and panic. A cousin of the other Thai victim, Jongluk Daumani, told BBC Thai she was shocked when she heard the news. "I had goosebumps. I couldn't believe it," Pornfikea Chalermson said. Jongluk had been living in South Korea for the past 5 years, working in the agriculture industry. She usually traveled to Thailand twice a year during the holidays to visit her sick father and 2 children, aged 7 and 15, from a previous marriage. Her father, who suffers from heart disease, was devastated when he found out about her death, said Pornfikea. "It is unbearable for him." This was his youngest daughter, she said, adding that all 3 of his children worked abroad. Shin Gyu-ho, whose 2 grandsons and son-in-law died, was among the relatives voicing frustration at how long it was taking authorities to formally identify the victims. Shin, 64, told the BBC that at one point he was so angry he had considered smashing the PA system used for police briefings, while all of the bodies had now been identified. Shin was initially told that his 2 grandsons, both high school students, were too scattered to be recognized, that at Muin Airport, posted notes, relatives and local people have been laying food and flowers. "Honey, I miss you way too much," one of them said. Another read, "My dear sister, you are the most thoughtful person I know. I will not be okay. I'll always remember you. I'm sorry. I love you." A handwritten note, reportedly written by the pilot's brother, had been placed alongside gimbap, a popular Korean dish of cooked rice, vegetables, and meat rolled in sheets of dried seaweed, and a drink cup near the crash site. "I feel heartbroken when I think about the struggles you faced alone in your last moments," it read. "You were truly amazing and did so well, so I hope you can now find happiness in a warm place. Thank you, and I'm sorry. For Meng Jiaisu's nephew and his nephew's 2 sons, a celebratory trip to Thailand to mark the end of the college entrance exams ended in tragedy. I can't believe the entire family has just disappeared, Meng, 78, told the BBC. My heart aches so much. John J. Young, 71, told Reuters that his daughter Misuk, who was identified by her fingerprints, had been on her way home after traveling with friends to Bangkok for the festivities. My daughter, who was only in her mid-40s, ended up like this, he said, adding that he had last seen her on December 21st, when she brought some food and next year's calendar to his house. That would become their last moment together. Misuk leaves behind a husband and teenage daughter. This is unbelievable, John said. As of Wednesday, only a handful of bodies had been handed over to their families, while the rest remained at a temporary morgue at the airport. They included a 64-year-old man named Kim, whose brother had made a funeral parlor reservation for next Monday, only to be told that his brother's remains were to be re-examined, possibly because they had decomposed and could be mixed with those belonging to other victims. Kim, who was self-employed, was returning from Thailand with 8 friends when they died. His brother had not been able to break the news to their 96-year-old mother, fearing what the shock might do to her health. She will be 97 in a day or 2, and we thought she shouldn't know about this, so we are keeping quiet, he told the Jungong Ilbo newspaper. The desks once used by 5 women who worked together at a public education office now carry bouquets of chrysanthemums placed by their devastated colleagues, some of whom wept as they tried to come to terms with the news. The 5 had planned a holiday to Thailand to celebrate their promotions, according to an official who worked in the same department as one of the women. It doesn't feel real, Lee Dae-kun, an official at Jeollanam-do Office of Education, told Reuters. She is still lingering in my eyes. Whenever I see the flowers on that empty desk, the sadness rushes in.